Hi, everybody. Welcome to day 3 of the virtual San Diego Latino Film Festival. Hope you guys enjoyed the Hecho in USA documentary shorts program. If you haven't had a chance to watch it and are just watching the stream, I recommend, if you want, you're more than welcome to stay for the Q&A, but afterwards I recommend checking them out because there are a great pairing of films. Right now we luckily have we have filmmakers from all the films joining us today. But before I bring them in, I want to thank you so much for supporting our festival. And I want to let you know, every year during one of the great things about the festival is the community that gets built around has been built around it. You know, you see regular folks who come year after year. They buy their pass, and you get to interact with them. Some people I know that they'd only see each other once a year at the festival, and then they have like their little group and they go to watch movies together. They have their schedule that they make, or sometimes friends meet up. New friends are made, sorry. But we don't get to see that this time because we're all at home. But I wanted to ask if you guys could share pictures of you, videos of you, and how you watch your home with your snacks, or maybe you home cook the whole meal, or in pajamas, because that's the best. You don't have to dress up to go to this movie theater. So please share with us your stuff on social media, hashtag Sdlff en casa or Sdlff at home. And you know what? We're feeling generous today. Today, whoever sends out the best picture, we'll give you a couple of codes so you can watch some free movies. So send us your stuff, and you'll get something for the rest of the week to enjoy some more films. Okay, enough talk from me. I'm gonna bring in the filmmakers, so that's who you guys want to hear. You guys want to hear me. All right, let's see. Let's start out with Sonia Fritz from Mariachis con Pantalones. How are you, Sonia?
Hello everyone.
All right. Mylene Calienes from And Bracial Rice. How are you, Mylene?
Hi.
Gabriel Alcalde from La Despedida.
Hey, how's it going?
Rodrigo Dorfman from Toros y Santos.
Aquí presente. Here I am.
And Anthony Puente from Farm Fresh.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Thank you guys so much for taking your time to join us for today's Q&A.
Yes.
I think I asked a couple of you, but for the rest, have you guys had a chance to watch any of the films, of each other's films?
Truly, no. I was participating in a pitch in Spain. I should have been in Spain this week. And it was the Mestizo Lab co-productions between Mexico and Spain. So I was really pitching the past 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. Well, like I said, the films are still available for another 2 hours, I believe now. So as long as you press play, you'll be able to you have 24 hours to finish them. So if you haven't purchased your ticket, you can go and do that right now. Press play and come back to the Q&A, and you can watch them afterwards. Again, thank you so much for joining. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was able to see most of the films.
Most of them?
Yeah.
Like them. So now you can ask them questions yourself too. Remind the audience that anybody can send in their questions, and you can ask them. They'll appear right here at the bottom, kind of like Rosanna here. Just say hi to everyone.
Hi, Rosa.
Hi.
So send in your questions, everybody, and then they'll come up on screen, and we'll be able to answer them as much as possible as time permits. Well, thank you. So to start off, I wanted to talk about, like, I feel like documentary filmmakers, you guys are kind of like, in a way, historians. You guys are like 50 years from now, 100 years from now, a million years from now, I don't know, someone's gonna find some video files of us, of one of your films, and they'll be like, oh, this is how people reacted and acted at this time period in history, you know? Film hasn't been around that long, so you guys are really, like, in a way, kind of helping provide that context for future generations. So and I'm always interested in how stories come to be. So I wanted to ask you guys first about, like, the origin of your film. Like, how did you choose to make a film on the subject that you did, or the person that you focused on, and why? So let's start with you, Sonia.
Well, I read an article in the New York Times about this band of mariachis, all women dressed with pants, which is, the tradition is that they wear the long skirts. And the leader is Mireya Ramos, and it happened that she grew up actually in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and her father had a restaurant, and he used to sing. Beautiful voice. So I used to go frequently to that Mexican restaurant. And as I read the newspaper, I realized she was his daughter. She had studied here at the Conservatorio de Música de Puerto Rico, went to New York, started to play with a mariachi band, a regular mariachi band, but she wasn't happy and decided to form her own band, and an only women band, and then wear the trousers as a statement, because she was challenging not only the wardrobe, but also the tradition, since they were also incorporating fusions. So they compose some of their music. They are also arrangers. When I met them, they used to move on the subway from one gig to another gig, and it was really amazing what they did. And one night they went to like 3 places, especially on weekends. And so I started following them for 3 summers, because I live in San Juan, Puerto Rico. They were in New York. And then I also followed them for 1 week, about 10 days. They were invited by Santa Barbara, the university. And so they had a tour along the coast. And so we visited agricultural centers. So they got to talk to the kids, mainly Mexican kids, and talk to them about their passion, their dreams, and really inspire them and be role models for all these kids. And on the side, well, they had a beautiful presentation in the Theater of Santa Barbara, which is an amazing building. They also had another gig, a performance at a nightclub in the center of Los Angeles. And so it was very varied. And ultimately, I decided I was trying to follow them to Mexico, because they had also a presentation there in Guadalajara for once a year. There's a competition of mariachi bands. And they did go. I got to film in New York, the fundraising, but then I wasn't able to go because I teach at the university, so I couldn't miss my classes for a week. But they did go to Mexico. I thought I was going to be able to raise some more money in Mexico, but in Mexico they felt they were too New York. In New York they felt too Mexican. In Puerto Rico they felt they were too not Puerto Rican. Yeah. But I did, as you can see, I have a sequence that starts in Puerto Rico with Mireya and a friend of hers who plays the guitar, and is also half Mexican, half Puerto Rican, wonderful musician also from the Conservatorio. So it's basically an inspirational story about women that are really hard workers. They've won the Latino Grammy. They were invited for the Grammys, the official Grammys, in January of this year. Mireya, the leader, is now also starting her solo career. So there's wonderful musicians, really nice people, and they've grown. They've been really recognized now in a music industry, which is mainly a male industry. So that's it.
Thank you, Sonia. How about you, Mylene? How did you get involved in this?
Yes. Well, first and foremost, the San Diego Latino Festival for having all of us there. Movies. I'm watching movies before we do our Q&A. I'm in this now. I'm in Los Angeles. Had an earthquake last night. I think there's still wildfire. 2020 happened. All the electricity off my house, so I had for being here. I happened. I found 2 lights, plugged it into my computer. I'm here with you guys, and I'm excited. So having me on board. I'm one of the producers and the Brave Show, right? And Adam Schlack is a beautiful short.
I think your audio is cutting up a bit.
My audio?
Can you hear us? Yeah, can you hear us okay?
No, she's cut off.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you hear? Hello?
Hello?
Do you hear me? Yes?
A little bit.
No?
There. Like every other word, I think.
I'm trying my best.
Yeah.
So, if you could hear me and the Brave Show, right? Did you guys hear that?
It's a bit better.
Yeah, it's a little better.
It's a little better.
So, I with Adam Schlachter, the tree after Parkland, Florida. Adam, I went to Tallahassee with a group.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's,
You're breaking up.
You're breaking up. Would you maybe able to go to a different room? Maybe you'll get a little more signal.
Let me see if I could step outside.
No, well, maybe we'll skip to you to Anthony for the second in the meantime, and then we'll come back right now. How about you, Anthony? How was your origin?
Yeah. So how was I approached? I was actually approached to this project by the Long Beach Museum of Art,
Okay.
where Narciso the artist was having his first exhibition of his career. And so they contacted me to meet with them, and we hit it off. And they were actually kind of interviewing some filmmakers to kind of do a small project that was going to be part of the exhibition. And we hit it off, and it grew from there. It was only supposed to be planned to be a very very short video project. And so, like I said, I just fell in love with his story. I really resonated, not only as an artist, but my grandmother being a migrant worker in the 30s and 40s. I just had a close connection with that story and with him as a person, and just we were able to really get into his life story, the process that he came to the United States, how he got here, and his journey from that point to where he's at today, where we didn't talk about this in the documentary, but he was able to learn English, get his GED, get his AA, his BA, and his MFA in a span of about 12 years. So he's an amazing artist, amazing person. And so, but yeah, I was lucky enough to be connected with them through the Long Beach Museum of Art.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's try again, Mylene. See if
Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, yay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Hey, I'm Mylene Calienes. I'm one of the producers of And the Brave Shall Rise. Thanks again to San Diego Latino Film Festival for having us on at your film festival. Very exciting. So I decided I joined. Adam Schlachter is the director of this movie. It's a beautiful short film documentary that he shot after the Parkland shootings in Florida. He got on a bus to Tallahassee with a group of people that were fighting against a group of students and mothers that were going up to Tallahassee to fight against gun reform laws, So there he started documenting that trip. And he found a woman, her name is Cindy Polo. She's the main subject in this documentary. She's a Latina stay-at-home mother who happened to be in the bus. He was filming her. Neither him or her knew that eventually, during the filming of this documentary, she was going to run for office to make a difference. Again, this is a stay-at-home Latina mother from Miami, Florida, that decided, from Hialeah, that decided to run for office to make a difference for the future of her young son and other children. And well, if you see the movie, I don't want to give it away. You have to see the movie to see what happens. But what I love about this movie, and one of the reasons that I'm so proud to be a part of it, is that Adam focused the story on, we know what's going on with gun reform. We know what's been happening in schools and at Parkland, but he focused the story on Cindy, which made it very inspiring, because it inspires all of us to take action, especially now that we have a critical time coming up in elections. It's very important to vote, but it's very important not only to vote, it's also very important to take action, you know. So this is what this documentary inspires, and that's why I absolutely love it, you know. And at the same time, again, it happens to be a Latina mother, stay-at-home mother. She didn't study law, you know. She didn't go to school specifically for this. She did it. She made the effort to run for office and to make a difference.
Thank you, Manan. Rodrigo, how about you?
So it's a long story. So I was thinking here about how to get there. Sometimes short films can have like the longest freaking backdrop on them. But just to set it up, so it's a story. It's a love letter written by a bull rider who has crossed the border to come to the U.S. to make some money bull riding, and he writes a love letter to his wife back home in Cherán, Michoacan. Back in the mid-'90s, I've been documenting the Latino community, immigrant community in the South. That's North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, since the mid-'90s. And a lot of the work that I was doing was in families. And this is before smartphones. And before smartphones, when I would film, my responsibility towards them was also that the only way they could tell and communicate back to their families was to like send a DVD back home. And so I would a lot of the times make sort of these letters, video letters from immigrants and send them back to Mexico. And that's how they would show how they're doing, what they look like. Or there was very few other ways of doing it. And then with the WhatsApp and Facebook Live, it's radically changed the way immigrants communicate with each other. And so I stopped doing that. But I was at a concert of Los Tigres del Norte in a jaripeo somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And I decided to make like a experimental one in which I wrote a love letter that didn't exist, but I put it in as a sort of experimental thing. And then I started filming from that day a bigger documentary called Los Desobedientes, which is a epic transborder story between two families and bull riding. And because one of the characters saw my experimental film, he was able to really want to make the film. And then his cousin happens to go and cross the border to come ride bulls. And he happens to ride this bull called El Dólar, and it's an incredible story. And when he saw the video that I made with his cousin, he said, "Can you make this video for my wife? I haven't seen her in like 9 months. I'm getting ready soon to go back home, but I want her to be ready for me." And so I said, okay, let's do it. And I've always been a filmmaker that collaborates, and I believe in collaboration with the people and breaking not all the rules, but a lot of the rules in documentary filmmaking in terms of how far do you want to get involved. And you push it, right? You don't know the rules, the limits until you push them, and then you go back a little. And so that's how it happened, that he asked me to do it, and I said, okay, let's do it. The bigger one that I chose not to use, and I said I didn't want to waste it. I thought it was a beautiful short story, and I just tried to bring it all together in this 7-minute short. So that's the medium-long short story of this short, and how it came.
I think you're cutting up a little now, Rodrigo, right there at the end. Also, but I think we got you. How about you, Gabriela? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering.
Yeah, so I started this film back when Obama was opening relations with Cuba and the U.S. And I'm half Cuban, being from Miami. There's so many different stories, and there were so many different reactions to that decision. And so it started off with like the idea to document all these different reactions to it, and it slowly became a story about everyone leaves Cuba for a different reason, and not every immigrant story is the same. And so I kind of wanted to capture that with these three different characters about how it's not the same. Not everyone has the same story, and people have different sentiments about being an immigrant, about leaving your home country. So that's kind of where the origin of the short came from.
Thank you for your answer. Again, for anybody in the audience, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and send them in, and we'll try to get them answered to the best of our ability. But for now, I don't know if any of you guys have do any narrative filmmaking also.
Yeah.
And with narrative filmmaking, I guess you kind of do a lot of your pre-production is kind of like outlines, shots, lists, stuff like that. But I think with like documentary filmmaking, a lot of your pre-production is like interaction with your subject, right?
Exactly.
Did you guys how much of that did you guys do for each of your films beforehand? We can start with you, Sonia.
Well, in a way, I talked to Mireia about the idea I had about following them and see where it would take us, because they were developing their career as I was filming. So they were like each year that I filmed with them, they had conquered, let's say, new territory, or were collaborating with some other artists, or had started a relationship with a managing company, or someone was already starting to book their gigs and open up space for them. They had also gone to India for a trip. They were invited, curiously, by the State Department. They were invited to go to India and play in 5 different cities. So there's some interesting sequences that were shot actually by Mireia's partner. And so that adds to the documentary, because it's like amazing that these Latina girls have come from different countries, Colombia, República Dominicana, Miami, Cuba, are together. Then they get invited to represent the US in India, playing mariachi music. And there's a couple of scenes where they do fusion with Indian musicians, which is so beautiful. And it's actually the end sequence of the documentary. So in a way, they've broken so many barriers. And of course, I had the collaboration with them because they were the ones that invited me to go to California for that trip so I could follow them. I was in Mexico City actually spending Christmas with my family there. So I flew rather than coming back to San Juan, I flew from there to Los Angeles and hooked up with them. And then it was really like gypsies traveling in a big van with a whole luggage and instruments and everything, just spending one night in every other place, and really seeing them from the inside, sharing stories, the beautiful bond that they had, some free time besides rehearsing and performing. And that gave me really an insight about this band of women, not only playing together, but really being the camaraderie and the friendship between them was really nice. And at the same time, the things they were up to, for example, they played in a non-for-profit place, and then they didn't get paid, although it was in a restaurant and the restaurant was completely full, and I'm sure the restaurant did a lot of money and they didn't even get paid. So anecdotes like that will show how it's different if it's women players or men players. So they certainly have broken a lot of barriers, and I'm a big fan of them. I really admire their work and how far they've gone. And as I was telling Juan before we hooked up, all of us, that Mireia is actually launching her solo career. She's now in New Zealand, and she has an amazing voice and is so talented. She plays the guitarrón, she plays the violin, and she composes and arranges, and so is Sherry, the other voice, the Cuban American. But she has a kid, and the trumpet player already has a baby, so that kind of slowed down things for the both of them, which is also part of what happens to women. No, it's part of our life, and sometimes we have to sort of stop our career a little bit to tend to the kids. I did it when I was raising my kid, and now, well, I have more time to dedicate to my work. So yeah, a lot of improvisation, as you said in documentaries, because it's really your characters that set the tone and the path. And ultimately, I didn't end up doing everything I wanted to, but I rather wanted to have that closure, knowing that it was difficult to raise money and make my dream of a film. But I think it's there, it tells a story, and it will be a stage in their careers. Or reflect that, no?
Thank you. How about you, Mylen? Some insight as a producer from pre-production on a documentary.
Yeah, so in this case, Adam had been filming this, and so, but I've also shot my own documentary, so I know how that process works. You're kind of like a live storyteller. You're finding your characters and all that stuff. Adam ended up doing this because through a family member that was also gonna get on that bus, decided to jump on that bus, and he took his camera because he was passionate about the subject, and he just started filming. And he would ask everybody just one question: what are you doing here, pretty much, right? And so then out of all the footage that he started collecting, that's where he decided to focus on the one subject, Cindy, who he found very interesting. And for this documentary in particular, we always say how the universe came together, because I don't want to say or give away, if you haven't seen it, what happens. But once you see it, you'll see what I'm talking about, because of everything that ended up turning out once she decided to run for office, and in the direction it all went. It was all interesting. The universe came together, and it just really created a little gem, So you never know with documentaries. I think that's the fun thing about it, because you're pretty much filming live, and you're also creating a story as you go, even though you might know what you want to focus on, but things sometimes happen, new characters come into the picture. But in the end, you're still a storyteller, and you still kind of have to piece it together, And like I mentioned in the beginning, what I love that he did was that he ended up finding his main character, which was Cindy, and creating that storyline around her, and still touching upon the important subject.
Thank you, Mylen. How about you, Anthony?
Yeah, for this project, so the film follows Narciso Martinez, and he's a Oaxacan-born artist living in Long Beach in LA. And so when we first kind of came together, wanted to film his process. And so through the process, you hear me?
Yeah, it went out for a second. Yeah.
To the process, I was able to find out more about his life, more about his background, more about his process. And so through that, we were able to, on the fly, because I filmed it, I directed it, I edited the project. I was able to really kind of dig in into his story, where he felt comfortable, where I felt comfortable, kind of building that relationship with him. Because, I think as an artist, just as a person, he was a little reserved to kind of, expose or let people into that world, to his story, to the life that he lived in Oaxaca, and his journey to the United States. And he himself was also a migrant worker. And so really kind of opening up to his experience, the experience of his family, was part of the journey that we walked on together. But yeah, that was a process throughout the filming of it. So that's kind of the process that we took.
Thank you. Rodrigo, I think you touched it. You touched on it a little when you were telling your background, but you want to elaborate a little, kind of?
Yes, actually. So before I met that bull rider, I had been filming and being with his cousin for 2 years. So that's one of the reasons I was able to sort of come in and allow him to film, and then for him to feel so comfortable as to be so intimate, which is very rare. And the film itself also, I think, touches on the whole sort of macho. It breaks some of the macho ideals that we have of the bull rider, and then there's this, like, he's got a tender side to him, and there's a whole backstory to him that you don't never see in the film. But I think in terms of the creation of it, it was really interesting because before I put it together, I was invited to make a at the exhibit, and I created this multi-dimensional video exhibit in which I had 3 giant walls. It was great. I'd never had such big walls to exhibit my video work. And on one I put Chiran, which is where the wife is. On the other one I put him, where he is in the US. And on the third one, I just put the words of the love letter that I was working on. And it was really interesting to be able to see what the immigrant experience is. And that's what I was trying to do as an experiment, right? To figure out how do you best, I don't know, communicate the immigrant experience of being torn between 2 places. And that work itself allowed me to give me a better sense of how to edit it and the feel of it. So every film has its own very strange, beautiful way of getting where it needs to be. And this one really feels very intimate and very, very cálido, no? In some ways. And so I'm really happy that it actually exists as a thing, and also it exists as an example of inter-border communication, and especially for him, who wants to redeem himself in the eyes of many, because he's known as el desobediente. He's been a bad boy, and he's not trying to change his life. This film also for him is like, you know, gives him this mark of sort of elevates him a little bit more in the eyes of other people that would think that maybe he's just a loser kind of guy. So it's very interesting how we have these connections to folks, to people, and how they're always very thin, in the sense of like there's a very thin line, right, between you and the person. It's not really a subject, right? There are people, friends, and you start.
I think you froze, Rodrigo.
He's frozen.
Yeah. You hear it?
Technology.
It's good. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
My last thing was going to say, I think the best films are the ones that try to break down as much as possible all those barriers between you and that other. And however you get there, that's how you want to get there. And if you can, I think the film is the proof of that, of the space that breaks down. So I'm very fortunate and very glad that this was able to be shared.
Yeah, if you have any video, I mean, we can't go to the actual exhibit, but if you have any video of the exhibit or anything, I'd love to see it. That sounds really interesting after watching the short. You don't mind sending me? I don't know if you guys, I can send it to you guys too if you guys want to see it. Well, all right, Gabriela, how about you?
Yeah, so 2 of the subjects I grew up with, and one of them is actually my dad, so I know him very well. But so I grew up hearing these stories about leaving Cuba and what that was like. And, you know, so it was something that was always kind of around and in the air, and at family gatherings and around friends, you would always hear these stories. But I think in preparation for this film, I sat down with them in such a different way than just being kind of a passive listener. And I was able to look through their family photos and archives and see kind of the story more in depth and be able to ask them these questions. So it's, I think it's a different process than other films that I've worked on where you don't know the person and you're getting to know them. These are people that I knew and I knew really well, but it was getting to know them in a different way and getting to know them in this different dynamic as a filmmaker and subject, and hearing their stories and thinking about it in just a different way. But so, yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, one. I guess I have a hypothetical question for you guys. I want you to imagine there's a world here where, I guess, to begin with filmmaking, it's always like it always comes down to like a money issue sometimes, right? I can't tell type of stories because I don't have the to do it. But let's live in a world where you got the biggest grant or the biggest producer in the world helping you out. Is there any type of story that you would like to tackle? And then maybe you actually get in the future. I don't know. Maybe someone's watching. A huge benefactor is watching right now, and this turns into a pitch session, guys. So, what do you guys think, Sonia?
Yeah, I'm working. I was actually pitching the film in Spain that I was telling you about, and that's why I missed the films these past days. I'm raising a film about a girl and a turtle. It's a friendship between a girl and a turtle, and this happens in a Caribbean island. The girl has been displaced because her mother married recently a biologist who's been hired to do an assessment for a hotel construction, and the girl is rebellious because she has left her friends and her school and her place where she was raised, and her mother didn't ask for her opinion, so she's dragged to this place where she doesn't want to be. But the night they arrive, she hears some sounds, and the house where they're staying is right in front of the beach. And so she walks into the mangroves, and she hears like this type of lament, and suddenly she sees this cage, and there's a turtle inside. And she opens the latch and lets the turtle out, and actually sort of pushes her to go quickly back into the water because she hears what we feel is the bad guys approaching to take her away. And ultimately the turtle does get into the water. The girl hides, and next morning she makes a drawing of the turtle and puts Tatiana, the name of the turtle she has baptized, and puts the piece of paper on her wall. And so she has found a reason to be in the beach. Ultimately she recruits a couple of friends, and they will protest the hotel development because they found that the turtle has hatched eggs, and they must protect the turtle where the hotel was planning to build not a small hotel, but a rather big hotel. And so it's about environmental issues and about coming of age and coming to terms with a new community and new people, and about kids being right about what they do. So it's a family adventure story, a bit complex to film. So we're starting to film it. We'll start the beginning in Mexico with the ferry of the family moving to Holbox. It will be like the island, and then we'll move to the Dominican Republic because the locations are amazing. So we've already raised some of the money, but we still need to complete the budget. But as you say, it's such a completely different dynamic. So while that is happening, because the feature films take so long, my last feature took about 10 years, and I've been trying to do this one for another 10 years. I'm working on another documentary that also is with music, but it's about Puerto Rican singers, lyrical singers, opera singers, who literally perform all over the world. So it's like astonishing that from such a small island, there's so many, especially sopranos and tenors, all over Europe and the United States. And nobody knows about it. So it's again music, because I think it's an inspiration. And in our times, what has saved me is music. So I hope this film also is an inspiration to other people. And we also see how people have to fight to overcome and from racism to economic issues, and really work hard to achieve what they have achieved.
Awesome. Thank you, Sonia.
You're welcome.
How about you, Mylen? Any subject or type of film you like
Well,
to?
Yeah, I mean, I've been working on a couple projects personally as a writer-director. I'm currently developing a project that takes place in the States and in London. And my stuff, I talk about social issues, but my stuff is fun, funny, quirky. I love developing characters and taking you on a roller coaster ride. That's the type of stuff that I like to do. But at the same time, aside from that, I'm very passionate, about the Latino community, especially since I'm the founder of the Latino Filmmakers Network. And, I started producing movies made by Latinos. So, Adam is a very talented director. That's why I jumped on board. And The Brave Shall Rise. I produced another movie, Es Tu Cuba, that won a Student Academy Award and several awards throughout last year. And right now I've been working with two different Latino filmmakers, a Latina and Latino, going more commercial this time. We've been developing projects that we're going to be filming, So for me, it's very important. I wish I had all the money in the world so I could just produce a lot of great work made filmmakers, writers, directors, and all that stuff, because I'm very passionate in showing off our community and putting us on the map and saying, hey, we're here, we belong here. And because, the world and our country thirsts for movies made by us, and we have so many interesting stories to tell. So I guess that's one of my passions, bringing to light our community. And with all the money that I get, just making sure that I'm working with great talent and developing great stories. And then at the same time, I am a creative, continuing to create my own.
Thank you, Mylen.
You're
How about you,
welcome.
Anthony?
Yeah, I guess that's a big question, but I guess two. One would be to extend Farm Fresh, this documentary, and into a feature. Because the artist Narciso since this exhibition has really started to blossom and to kind of blow up a little bit in terms of his work and the notoriety that he's getting, and he's been able to land some fellowships and one that potentially could take him back to Oaxaca, to Mexico, for the first time in over 20 years. He's been unable to see his family to go back to his country, so that would be an amazing experience to travel with them. And then a project that I'm currently working on is with the linguist Noam Chomsky. And so about his life, about his impact on current leaders, and he's impacted from artists to political leaders to other people that really are impacted by his work.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
How about you, Rodrigo?
So in terms of documentaries, I've made like 10 feature films, and I've all funded them, found a way, because I can film and edit. So I've always had, I'm looking for money now for this Desobedientes, but that's another story. Usually I don't need the money. I'm fine. But I used to have a career screenwriting, so for a while. And I remember in 2004, HBO hired us and my dad to write the first sort of Latino TV series that they were going to do. And we did the whole pilot and the whole thing, and then they scrapped it because, of course, and they used all the money to do Rome. And so instead of doing the Latinos, they do the Latins. It's very ironic. And so, but the story was so good.
Somewhere, someone missed the OS an email or something.
Damn it! No, you got it wrong. And so, but the story was so good. The central story that we took it with my dad, who's a fairly famous writer, and we made a screenplay. that we developed for many years called Los Angeles Open City. And so it's sort of like between The Return of Martin Guerre and El Norte, and it's like a thriller, and it's been really. So we sort of let it go and revisiting it, and I'm thinking of revisiting it again because it's such a cluster mess, the issue of immigration, and it's taken from such a beautiful perspective that's a thing that I would be like, oh, okay, that'd be good. We could use, and you could do it like neorealist style, the whole point. So you could do it for like maybe 5 million, easy. In any case, that's like I'm having bigger dreams of like revisiting projects that never got made because producers didn't have the cojones to really go deep into stuff. You know, that's a bigger conversation about the state of Latino art and who the producers are and how things get made and who are the gatekeepers that I think is teeming under the surface. I know that. And so hopefully this pandemic is going to sort of really shake things up in terms of how do we produce things. And I think Latinos and third world thinking and have an advantage in a world where all of a sudden you can't have super big production. That's my hope.
Well, thank you, Rodrigo. How are you, Gabriela?
Man, I mean, such a big question, like Anthony said. I don't think I have quite the answer of what I would do. I mean, I think there's so many stories in South America and the US and how those two, continents interact that, you can just do so many of them. I'm interested in just so many stories that are overlooked and marginalized that I think if I had all the money, I would just continuously make those stories and make them known. So I don't think there is one specific idea or film that I would work on. I think there's a lot of work to be done with these stories. So I think I would just always work on that.
Wow. Well, Ethan Antillo, executive director, actually just responded. Thank you for a great Q&A. But yeah, from all your guys' answers, I think there's a common thread of kind of helping continue telling the stories of the Latino people, and in our community. So I really hope that you guys can continue this with the need or money or not. I mean, I wish you guys all the best luck in the world, and I want to see you guys grow over the coming years. I want to keep seeing your work here at the film festival. Like I said, everything was amazing. We had a crazy amount of U.S. Latino filmmakers this year submit films, and I think it goes to show, and a lot of it was like super strong work. And it goes to show just the way that the industry is growing, or but maybe not in a Hollywood perspective, an independent way. I think work is being made, and it's just it's up to us, the film festivals and distributors, to kind of help not lift, but like help spread your films and your messages. So I want to thank you guys so much, and I think we're gonna end it because it's almost taken an hour of your day already. Oh, okay, go ahead.
It's very important as a Latino community to support each other, to watch films, to support film festivals like the San Diego Latino Film Festival. It's very important, very critical, especially, our community really needs to come together, especially during this time. We have to learn from communities come together for each other, so we can see a rise in more productions being made by us.
Exactly. It's like you said, we control the numbers, right? If we watch Latino content, there's gonna be more Latino content being distributed and picked up. So for anybody in the audience that's on here, you can go ahead and share these films. They will share the link to the films, so that if you enjoyed them, come back and maybe look for the filmmakers' other work online. If it's they might be, I don't know if anybody here has anything on any website or on YouTube or something like that. But anyways, thank you guys so much for joining us, and I hope you guys have a great day.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Aman. Thank you, everyone, and good luck.
Take care. Stay safe.
Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.